for us. So if we just want to go through, introduce ourselves just to open, and then we can jump into the questions. If y'all cool with that.
Yeah.
So I'm Carson Kaiser. I'm from Canton, Georgia. I'm currently a video graduate assistant with the Clemson football team. So had 2 years of undergrad or being an undergraduate assistant with the program, and then was fortunate enough where timing worked out where I was able to join as a graduate assistant. So lifelong Clemson fan, then lucky enough to be here. So that's me.
I'm
I'm Carlos Washington. Diehard Clemson fan too. That's the reason why I came here. I currently work for ROTC department in Philadelphia for a school called Drexel University. I'm a high school lacrosse coach, so that's kind of what led me in here because I eventually want to become an AD for either college or high school.
My name is Xavier Lockwood. I'm a graduate student here. Transferred from Florida State. I'm a track and field athlete, and I'm from Tampa, Florida.
I'm Victor Herrera. Actually grew up a Michigan State fan, not a Clemson fan, but have loved the transfer over. But I currently teach middle school and coach middle school, so uh, eventually want to grow in this area. So that's why I want to join the program.
Hey, I'm BJ Bailey from Spartanburg, South Carolina. This is my third year at Clemson. I graduated last year. Had one more year eligibility for baseball, so I came back and decided to do this as a master's program.
So,
Good deal. So looking at the first question, talks about creating a diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging policy for a team or staff, and then discuss how we'd handle situations when the policy was violated. So first thing I thought of is I feel like with any sports related program, you want to create an environment where there's no favoritism or like even perceived favoritism towards anybody, whether that be a situation where there's a coach's son in play or not, nothing like that. You don't want to show any favoritism. So the biggest thing I thought of is as a coach making a conscious effort to always include everybody, make sure that the the coaching you're given to your 5-star starter is the same that you're given to your walk on, as difficult as that may be. So that was the first thought I had, just trying to create a non-biased and zero favoritism policy. If y'all had anything to add to that.
yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think it's also important that like you kind of like it depends on who's writing this. So like if we're the athletic directors, like kind of giving this out to our coaches, staff, like for our different sports, for like a college or whatever. I think it's important that we treat them kind of how we would treat like we had like team. Like I'm a big for my high school players. I give them out contracts. So in a contract, I lay out the values and what I expect from them. So as an AD or whatever, you set the tone by saying like, hey, kind of like what you were saying, like these are the standards and this is what I want, and this is what I don't want to see. So that if there is a violation or if there's any confusion of anything that's being, violated, there's no say, hey, I didn't know or I didn't understand. And then it's also like including the basis of like making sure that they're not discriminating against anybody from like race, sex, origin, or whatever the case may be. And then also kind of letting them know that hey, there's zero tolerance up front, so that there's a clear picture of what you expect from them.
I agree with both of you guys. I feel that just creating like a safe environment. Also, when it comes just to like having like track and field with both men and women on the same team, so creating like a respected area where just so the men's get something, the women get something as well. So creating a good practice area for just so you can make each other better. Where in the sport.
Another thing that I thought about, I was exactly along the lines of y'all. However, I thought maybe the recruiting aspect of it too could be thrown into there. Just make sure that the recruiting side of it's being done by the recruiting coaches, and it kind of just goes back to everybody being trained and with the right morals and values lined up.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything y'all talked about there. It's just important to make sure everyone feels valued and respected. A big thing that I would think need to put in there is like an accountability process along with like an open communication. So like, whenever there are problems or situations that do occur, there's a good healthy line of response that you can, handle and what ways to go about it so that everyone's values and ideas and stuff can be heard, along with making sure everyone gets the same opportunities up front. And, everybody's not getting like if, for example, with baseball, you got the hitters and the pitchers. The pitchers don't get the perfect lifts or the perfect times with the field and stuff like that. Make it evenly between the teams. Like you're talking about Xavier with the track and field being boys and girls, making everyone has the equal opportunity. I think that's pretty good start.
Yeah, I think that all sounds good. I really like what you said, Carlos, about being upfront, the contract, little Coach Carter style.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. And so in terms of how we would treat things, if the policy was violated, my thinking was a three strike rule where my brain works in a football sense. So like I thought like the first time you violate it, you're gonna have a discussion with your direct superior. So for a wide receiver, that would be the wide receiver position coach, or the D ends coach would be the defensive ends coach. So like BJ, that might be your pitching coach. Then obviously if it's a hitter, they do if it's an infielder, they talk to the infielder coach or so on and so forth. And then my second thought was, all right, maybe a more serious discussion now with the head coach involved along with the position coach, followed with maybe some sort of punishment. Like obviously in the athletic setting, you could run them or do different things like that. And then the third strike, you're out. If you do it a third time, you're just dismissed from the team, no questions asked. So would love to hear y'all's opinion on those, and then anything y'all had in terms of how you treat violations.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think you hit it pretty good on the nail. I mean, I don't really know where else to go from there other than like maybe in the third step plan, like add in meeting with the AD, whether that'd be like Kyle Young or whoever it is here at Clemson, and kind of get an idea from them and see like, is it going to be dismissal for sure or maybe a little suspension for a longer period of time throughout just the university's case, without getting NCAA violations and stuff like this, just handling it within house of the university and things like that.
Yeah, for me, I'm more of a like when my players do anything big, like I'm more of a committee type thing. So like any violations on my team, I meet with my assistant coaches and we kind of like decide on the severity of it. So it's kind of like a case by case for me. Like if it's something that is not like on the high end of the spectrum, then it may be, a suspension or maybe some extra conditioning or something like that. But if it's something like severe to where it's just like, whoa, like that was above and beyond the line, then have a conversation with my coaches and be like, hey, yeah, we're gonna have to dismiss him from the team, even though it may be his first violation. It just depends on what the actual violation is for me to determine the punishment. But I'm more of a by committee for like me, my assistant coaches, and maybe the AD to kind of figure out a set punishment.
So I can say I agree with like the three strike. We used it here and now at Clemson for track, and we used it at my other school, past school. And I can say one thing I guess was not mentioned was like you considering cutting scholarship or reducing scholarship. I know that's like a kind of the second strike of the system, like based off of just having that talk with your head coach and with your event coach to see like if something can change.
I honestly like kind of both things. I've kind of always been around where it's like you go through the grievance process, then the investigation, and then it's kind of like the final say so. But I do kind of side more with the committee side like Carlos, but like I said, I've seen both and I've seen both work extremely well.
Hmm. So I'm curious if you go with the committee, like you have the players vote on it. Like is that the end all say all for you
Well,
guys? Like,
yeah, so I mean, for example, how I do it with my team, like I had a player, for prime example, he got into it with a young lady on school campus and he called like out her name or whatever. And then it got reported up to the academics, came to me through the AD. So like I took that, me and my two assistants sat down before practice and we called in the captains. And what I'm saying, like we all kind of like talked about like, hey, has this player been a consistent offender of doing, miscellaneous stuff? All right, yeah, no. So that's like we add that into there. Like, and then it's like, all right, well, what precedents are we going to take here? Are we going to say, hey, like he disrespected a woman by calling her out her name? And are we going to let that slide? Or are we going to make an example out of this player type thing? So it just really just depend. And then of what it is. Like I said, it's one of those things where, I may think, hey, we need to dismiss him from the team, but if all the other coaches are like, hey man, let's just give him a game or two suspension, then you know what I'm saying, like that's kind of what I will go off. Because sometimes me being prior military, like I may go for more of like the chop his head off punishment when really it could have been dialed down to like, hey, slap on the wrist, because like maybe I'm overthinking it. Like what offends me more may not be offensive to you four guys. So that's why I like to get like a committee of my coaches to kind of be like, hey, nah, you're overreacting, coach.
Yeah, and I would stand by that. I think there's just times where, I mean, you could have a rough day and you're like, you know what, I'm just don't ever want to deal with this again. Whenever it's a kid that doesn't really give those types of issues, so
Yeah.
that's where I think the committee kind of keeps things level headed and kind of doesn't allow too much power in one person type of thing. But
Yeah.
it kind of goes with the three strikes too. Like there's a process. It just doesn't get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I assume getting multiple viewpoints of it helps you avoid the bias, like we talked about a little bit earlier, like the
Yeah.
bias and how you
Hmm.
treat people and the bias in your decision making. So that makes a ton of sense the more y'all talk about it.
Yeah. I've been that guy where I had a kid where I didn't like him. Well, I didn't like his mannerisms, but he was a great kid. It just me personally, I didn't like his mannerism, and I would try to find any reason. But my assistant coach was like, "Hey, stop." So that's why I kind of developed that thing, because like I'm a stickler when it comes to like mannerism, and so that's why I kind of developed that. But the three strike rule makes sense too.
I got you. Y'all have any other comments on question one before we move to the second one? All right. Y'all are good. I'm good. So the second one, I'll look at Canvas real quick. So share a personal anecdote that represents resilience in your life. I can start with that. So for me, a little bit about me. I've had four open heart surgeries, and so growing up wasn't really allowed to play sports and all that. And it was something that as I grew up, it was frustrating, right? Because you see all your buddies, they're growing up and they're playing high school football, they're playing high school baseball, basketball, so on and so forth. And so it's a frustrating experience as a kid growing up. And as I've grown older, I've gained perspective, realized how fortunate I was. And so the resilience that I think of getting out of here is the perspective I've gotten from it. It's kind of the choice you always have to make, like, hey, the glass is either half full or half empty. And so it's just the decision of kind of like, hey, I can look at this as a bad thing and let this negatively affect my life and my perception of how lucky I've been. Or I can look at it at the correct side of the coin, be like, man, I'm so fortunate to even be here. I'm so fortunate to get to work in athletics and so on and so forth. So for me, that was something I thought about, kind of the choice everyone has to handle adversity and to choose to look at the glass from a half full standpoint versus half empty.
That's dope, man. I'm glad to hear that you're still here with us. So that's super dope. Um, for me, it's kind of the same thing. Like me being growing up in like a real unstable household growing up, and then by me joining the military, I had like a deployment where I got injured and I could have like not woke up the next day. And going through like those different adversities, it kind of just taught me to kind of take what's there for you. Like it's every day in life where it's always something bad, but like I believe in like always hunting the good stuff. So no matter what's bad in front of you, if we once we wake up in the morning and we take that first breath in the morning, it's kind of like you got to find something good to cling on to. No matter how bad the day is, there's always something good, and that's kind of the thing that got me. Like I got that mindset, like I said, because like I came so close to losing my life so many times. Um, but just like every day, it's just like right now, like my stuff is my kids. So just like I find that every day when things get shitty, I have like a picture of my kids in my wallet, and like I either look at that and like, yo, you got to keep pushing. So it's just hunt the good stuff. Like no matter how much bad, find the good.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I would say mine was like last year was supposed to be my actual last collegiate season and a chance to try to go professional and go to the Olympics. And I starting the fall training, I tore my Achilles, which pretty much put me out for the whole season. And so just trying to get back from that, and then also my jump coach was fired from Florida State. So just trying to figure out where to go, and I end up being here at Clemson. So I can say the opportunity being here and just the whole training process of this year of fall training, where I can say um, this year I'm back. Like I'm not. I jumped. I had a first jump practice this past week, and just the point of me getting back to this point where feeling back how I was before I tore my Achilles. Like I said, that was a big point in my life where I feel that it got me back to feeling comfortable and being able to compete for this upcoming season.
I would say for me, you know, feeling like I got into teaching and coaching late, even though I'm barely 27, but it was like going through college, like, man, I'm going to be starting late. And it's like, well, you can either finish or you can still be doing the same thing, which was driving in the oil fields. Like, it's the one or the other. Which hard do you want, basically? And I would say for me, it helped reaching out to old coaches, kind of walking me through, okay, this is kind of what you need to look for. This is where you would want to be, even though I'm currently at a spot where they probably told me not to be. But it's all those little things that kind of help me get to this spot. And like Carlos said, like waking up and be like, at least I get to do this now and kind of can make the most of it.
Yeah, I would say mine was last year. Right before the season, I ended up tearing like all five ligaments in my knee, so I had to take like a medical red shirt. And so like it was kind of the perspective of it, like yeah, I'm not gonna do something that I enjoy doing. And there was a point so like where you feel sorry for yourself. So luckily, I had an opportunity to meet this guy in my class one day, and he was missing his leg, and I was like, dang. So I changed the perspective of not really feeling really bad about the situation because yeah, I miss a year, but on the other side, this guy, he's enjoying life with one leg and stuff like that. So that's what really changed my perspective and my thought. Look at it like you said, with the glass half full rather than empty with everything in life, and just change your perspective and be in the moment rather than looking forward to other things. Just live in the moment.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, glad y'all have all overcome that stuff. And I think something with sports that maybe you don't hear a lot about until you get in it, but like sports is a grind from a time commitment, right? Like there's a lot of time you spend with your players and your coworkers and all them. Like you spend more time obviously with the team than you do your family. And I think at times it's probably hard in the industry to keep that positive mindset of like, man, I would love to be home right now, just chilling on a Saturday rather than waking up at 6 a.m. to get to the field. So I don't know if I'm the only one who's kind of struggled with those emotions before, but I think that's a very real thing as well in terms of overcoming maybe day-to-day resilience with athletics.
No, I definitely feel you with that. Just pretty much like you're saying, having practice, like, of course we have voluntary practice for the election day, but we end up still practicing because it's just like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we don't have technically days off. And then like everybody gets to go home for Thanksgiving and go home for Christmas. We're here still practicing, getting
Yeah.
ready for the season because season starts that literally that second week in January. So I definitely feel that plays a mental part into just, making sure you're surrounded by a positive environment, because you won't be able to see your family or friends from back home.
Yeah. All right, if y'all are good with two, we can move on to the fourth and final one. So any last comments there?
Yeah.
All right, so Carlos, you might be our leader here with this question. With your military background, so at the U.S. Naval Academy, there is a belief on campus that the vision is the future, and the mission is what you do every day. So what do you feel are the daily priorities, mission you must exhibit to best achieve the future? So define your mission and your vision for your program and how you'll go about executing it. What does your purpose look like in action? I can lead off unless one of y'all want to start us off with that one.
You got it.
I got you. I got you. So for the vision of my program, just kind of very broad. I didn't get too much into like winning or setting like statistical goals or anything like that. But the vision for the program I have in mind would be to create a program that improves the lives of the people within it, and then also externally can improve the lives of people who witness it and follow it. Be like, hey, he watches the way someone coaches or someone plays and sees how their life's been enriched through your program, and maybe externally as they follow along, they also feel that enrichment. And then in terms of the day to day with the mission. I just had a couple bullet points that you got to go to work each day with enthusiasm and a learning mindset. Kind of like what we talked about. It's like you wake up, and find the good, hunt the good. And so ask questions, try and foster an environment where people aren't afraid to fail or ask questions. I think that's a big deal. It's kind of taking away the fear because of sports, there's going to be so much failure. You know, if you've got an environment where guys are scared to ask questions and scared to fail, like I mean, sports is going to grind them up with that. And then just again, choosing to be positive and focus on the optimistic approach rather than the pessimistic approach. Be proactive, be humble, and then always try and find the good people. And I think if you can do that every day, then you know you might wake up in a couple months or a couple seasons, and your program might embody those things because of your day-to-day mission.
Nice. I say from I guess from my program, the mission would be to like just foster a home, foster an area or safe haven for youth to come and gather to develop. Like that's the main thing. Like that was kind of something. Like I said, I grew up in a broken home, so growing up, sports was the thing that kept me like stable and kept me going. So like just fostering an area where students can come and just feel safe and grow and grow from there. The vision is just pretty much just kind of something that I got from the military is to leave each day better than you were when you arrived. So like long as you take something from each day at practice or each game or each whatever and you leave better than you walked through the door, that's all that matters. Like whether it maybe you understanding the place better, maybe it's understanding something about life better. Just as long as you lead better, that's all we I care about, which is kind of why I got in coaching. It's just because there's a lot of like athletes and youth, whether it's high school, college, middle school, whatever, even little league, that where students will use sports and use that arena to kind of understand life in different aspects. I had one student where he really was just struggling making friends, but as he was going through the 2 a day conditioning, the weightlifting, and like going through the suck with the other players, he started understanding like what it took to kind of socialize and to grow. And then that's kind of what I care about most for like a program that I'm in charge of, and just making sure that people are coming in and just feeling welcome and have that transparency of being part of something bigger than themselves. So yeah.
I can say for me, my I could say my vision, my goal, especially for this my last collegiate season, is just to kind of be focused, stay focused from just the main task at hand. I know like last year, I feel like what played a big part of my tearing my kids was I wasn't focused. So I feel like I know that I'm capable of reaching those nationals trials and possibly going to the world championship this year. I'm capable of doing that. It's just remaining focused and remaining humble and just taking one day at a time and not looking too far ahead, especially with me coming back from an injury. I have to sometimes give myself grace. And even though I've been out for track for a year, just like I said, remaining humble, remaining patient, and just knowing that the at the right time the jump will come. It's just as long as I stay focused. So I can just say that's like a big part I can say this year is just remaining focused.
I would say for me personally, I'm kind of right along the lines of Carlos. Like I would rather the kids feel valuable and feel heard and feel like they can come and talk and grow as a person and dealing with mainly boys like as a man, because the way I look at it, they're going to be the future in the society. I would rather them be contributors, and I would like to foster that and have them be contributors to society, to their families, and that's kind of what I stress for. I'm be honest. I tell my kids, I don't care what you do out there. I just want you to be a good person and learn how to do things the right way all the time.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I would just say like our main mission and goal or priority would be like the best team in the country at getting better. Necessarily you don't have to be the best at what you do, but as long as you're on that steady incline of growth with the growth mindset of like just showing like, I'm gonna be the best person as I can be at getting better. I'm gonna be the best team in the country at getting better. There's ways that you can improve, making sure you're getting out to the community, being a servant leader out in the community, make sure you're serving others, helping others, doing everything you can to make sure other people are doing good and things like that. But there's also steps that you got to take individually and steps for preparation. If you're not doing the little things by like getting in the training room, nutrition, sleep's the biggest one. Like if you're not getting the right sleep, you're not gonna be able to produce as well. If you're not getting the right calories, the right intake of food, meals, you're not going to be able to produce at the high quality that you want to, getting in the weight room and things like that. There's steps you got to do right now so that in the future, when you have the big time plays, the big time moment, the big time games, you put yourself in situations to where you can do that, and you're not trying to do something that you haven't done before, haven't practiced before, but you've steady been on and then kind of growth and things. And that's kind of what I got for future missions and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I think that kind of ties perfectly. Like when you think of servant leadership, which I think is a lot of what everybody's talking about, especially with Victor and Carlos, and we all are saying. And then you think of the other side of the coin with servant leadership as like you want to serve as much as you can, but you also got to serve yourself to be able to serve others. It's like BJ, you tied that in perfectly right there, talking about how you got to make sure your sleep's good, that you're good, so you can be the best leader and coach for the youth that y'all are trying to develop and grow and impact, like y'all are talking about Victor and Carlos. So that's good. We've got like 3 minutes left. I don't know if there's anything y'all got on your minds, anything with the class going on, anything like that.
No, not really.
I got you. I got you. Well, I'll get this recording posted on YouTube, and then obviously I'll copy the link over, type out the assignment, and submit it, and I'll shoot y'all a text just when I get that done. Should be later tonight. Um, but but yeah, pleasure talking to y'all. Appreciate y'all being able to be flexible and us get this time together, and yeah, I just appreciate y'all. Best of luck rest of the semester.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, y'all too.
Appreciate it.